Welcome to RHI Sociable City Interviews, where we meet with global thought leaders on nightlife and the social economy. Today we are joined by Matt Tidwell, who leads emergency operations for EMS, Fire, and Fire Marshal divisions in Nashville's Entertainment District, one of the highest volume public safety zones in the city. He oversees the deployment of med carts, fire carts, ambulances, and fire marshal walking teams, optimizing real-time response and interagency coordination.
Hey Matt, great to meet you, and I'm excited with this interview because I think fire is often not included in a lot of these discussions, and I think it's a really critical piece of managing an active, what we call social economy or nightlife. So why don't we begin just a little bit about your background and what your current role is?
Hey, yeah, good to meet you too, Jim. I am an assistant chief at the Nashville Fire Department. I'm over the entertainment division here in Nashville. Been with the department for 13 years. I initially started as a paramedic for the department. I did some time in our training academy, to which I then moved to our special operations division. Was a district chief in our special operations divisions for a little while, and now I've moved over and been appointed to oversee the entertainment division for the department. So in my short 13 years, I've kind of traveled around and been through several different departments within our department, and now have been assigned the entertainment division and just kind of taken over the beast that is, and trying to figure out what's best and how to serve the entertainment district for our city the best. So that's my role, and that's what we're still in the process. It's ever changing, so we're still moving things around a little bit and seeing what works best.
Yeah, well, that's great. And you bring great experience because I think not only, do you have the role of fire, essentially trying to look at fire safety and occupancy and exiting, you also have the situations where you have the kind of shooters, active shooters, or you have incidents where somebody could be in the fight but seriously injured. So your work with EMT, I think, is also critical to this. And I think that's what I've learned is venues have to understand what to do in a situation where you have somebody who is seriously injured and how to prepare for the EMT to arrive. I think a lot of times that doesn't get incorporated into a strategy, but it certainly, that's where seconds matter in terms of the response of the security in a venue and how to manage the reaction of the patrons if a serious injury occurs. So maybe we could get into that as well beyond
Absolutely.
what you're talking about. But how did you eventually? I know that the entertainment unit has been evolving, like you said, but how did the fire department become engaged in this whole kind of interagency approach?
Around 5 years ago, we started looking at the entertainment division right prior to COVID and during COVID and really right after COVID. Just the sheer number of people that are in our entertainment division or our entertainment district from tourists, from residents, whatever the case may be. The sheer number of people, it's a large number of people, and it puts a big strain on the city itself on a day-to-day operation. So we had to develop something to help release the strain on our regular duty units from responding to the entertainment district a lot. Not only to release the strain from our regular duty units, we also had to do something that was going to be beneficial for the stakeholders in our entertainment division as well. So we had to, just from a regular response, if you get a medical call there, you have a fire engine, you have an ambulance, you maybe have a fast car, whatever the case may be, putting those large apparatus downtown in our entertainment district interrupts crowd flow, interrupts traffic flow, interrupts all those things. So we had to also figure out ways to operate that to lessen the strain on all of those other entities as well. So that's how that kind of developed was what can we do down there to lessen all of those other uh, pieces into that puzzle down there? What could lessen the impact on traffic? What could lessen the impact on pedestrian flow? All those things, and that's how we started putting all of our pieces together to implement our fire carts and our med carts, and also implementing our fire marshal's office downtown. Um, and also just the after hours aspect of it. Our fire marshal's office, like most places, is going to be a Monday through Friday operation. But all those operations in our entertainment district are weekends, weekend nights, things like that. So we had to figure out options that we could serve all of those stakeholders down there better than what they were being served prior to that.
Well, you covered a lot of things in just that one little statement. I think obviously, you made me realize, when you have such large crowds, and I know that on some occasions you close the street just as a way to protect pedestrian safety, but at the same time, if you have an injury, whether it be from a gun shooting or a knife, or just even people getting into a fight and somebody gets injured, just the sheer fact that the street's closed, it's loaded with pedestrians, and now all of a sudden you have to bring in this big equipment. Um, that I never really thought about that from a logistics point of view, but it certainly is something that people need to consider. I know when I worked in Toronto, they had EMT on bikes, on bike patrol, just for that, the fight with the guy with the broken nose type of response, but not necessarily
Right.
treating more serious things. So let's just talk about that whole EMT piece of the role of fire, which encompasses that emergency response, and then working with the venues in terms of how they prepare to have the EMT come to their space if there is an incident.
Okay. So we one when even when there is a large incident or anything happening downtown, our fire marshal side of things or that side of the house, they make sure obviously everything's up to codes and we have a 20-foot fire lane regardless of what's going on at all times. Um, and that can have pedestrians in it. It just can't have structures in it. So we can still have it full of pedestrians that we have to get through. We work diligently with our stakeholders in the entertainment district, so they are aware of if they have a call at their establishment, whether we'll say it's a medical call. Um, they know what to expect when we're coming. We respond one of our med carts or one of our fire carts, both of those. And they are typically waiting at the door. They know our process of how we're coming in. They have routes pre-planned to get us quickest to that patient. So we work so well with them. We've had meetings with them. We've done drills and exercises with all of them, just so they are very in tune with our operation and how we work to get to them. And there's some places that we've worked with them to figure out better ways and things like that that are more convenient and more structured for their establishment as well. Whether that be utilizing back entrances, side entrances, whatever the case may be. It's very we have a really good working relationship with those different stakeholders. So that's critical for entertainment districts is to have that working relationship with those stakeholders, just so you can train with those stakeholders and to have conversations with them to see what's going to best serve them, what's going to best serve us, and what's going to best serve the public overall.
Now, with such large capacity and the potential of incidents that occur, clearly one of the principal, from my experience anyhow, role of fire has been prevention. And prevention typically is associated for maintaining capacity limits based upon the criteria that's used, with numbers of exits and the specific floor plan and everything else. But managing capacity is always a challenge for venue operators because their mission is to get as many people through the door to buy drinks or to pay the cover charges they can, while at the same time, responding to the compliance that they need to do for capacity. So how do you work in helping venue operators, and do some of them use technology to help maintain the people coming and going so that they're pretty close to what their legal requirements are?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So our inspectors work really well. They go every night, they're going door to door with those businesses, and most of those businesses have um, newer systems in place, counters, if you will, that they're keeping a count on occupancy in their building at all times. Most of them are a digital version. We still do have some of the old school clickers and things like that. But our inspectors, they've done a good job and they've done it long enough that they can look at a crowd and tell you immediately if it's going to be over occupancy or not,
Hmm.
um, just because of how long they've been doing it and how much they do it. But most of the venues have systems and stuff in place now that they can tell you their occupancy, and a lot of venues own multiple venues too. So you can go look at one of their systems and see what each of their venues has in it currently. And those are some great systems that they have in place to help keep count with that. And they do it, honestly, they do a really good job with it. We don't have a ton of over occupancy issues. We do occasionally, but a lot of times they do great with it. They'll stop letting people in the door once they get close to capacity. Most of the places do it prior to them getting to capacity. And they're also really well too. If one of our inspectors comes in and checks it out and sees that they are over capacity, they'll shut the door down and they'll stop serving whatever they need to do to get people to exit until they get back under capacity. So we try to work with all of our venues and things before we immediately go to any kind of fines or whatever the case may be, because they all do a really good job with keeping their counts to where they're supposed to be, and most of them under where they're supposed to be. They all have an occupancy level just like everywhere, and most of them set it actually under what their actual occupancy level is, just to prevent those types of things.
Wow, that's really amazing. I know when we worked in Lincoln, Nebraska, but this is like more than 20 years ago, but they were going to do enforcement for capacity on a football Saturday weekend. So I don't know if you know much about college football, but Lincoln, Nebraska
Yeah.
on a Saturday, the stadium is the I think the second largest city in the state in terms of a population. And when the bar owners found out that they were going to like enforce occupancy, they would just, this is like I don't know how many home games they have every year, but that's a principal revenue source for them. So
Yeah.
what happened was, as a result of that, the bar owners actually reported more sales, and the servers reported making more tips. And when we stopped to analyze it, we figured, well, when you just let people come in, the heavy drinkers will go to the bar because they want to make sure they could get a drink. And then, there's that expression, it was so crowded you couldn't even get a drink. That became the reality from these people's perspective because truly there were a lot of people there who couldn't get a drink because it was too crowded. So that's all lost sales potential. And then the servers, when they have to walk through crowds and bump into people and they spill drinks, they're not going to get good tips. So it was actually, in the end, a more money-making opportunity for the venues if they maintain capacity, which seems to be, I guess, what they figured out in Nashville.
Yeah, our stakeholders, they own businesses in one of the busiest entertainment districts in the country, so they're pretty in tune with how all those things work and what works best. And you're very, it's correct. I mean, when you're in a place like that and it's so crowded you can't even get a drink, you're not going to have a great time. All the things, so they're going to keep it to where everybody's having a good time and also being able to get to that bar to purchase something too.
Mhm. Now, when you assign the marshals to work at night, it must be difficult sometimes to get people to do that weekend night shift, especially if they have a family or something like that. Are there criteria or are there ways in which you try to make it easier for people to take on that shift? Do you have some kind of an officer profile that you think would fit better to work in the nightlife districts?
It takes a special person to do those shifts anyways. It's one, it started with whoever, if anybody's willing to sign up to work those shifts, we'll let those people sign up and work those shifts. And then it goes, after that, we'll start looking at appointing people to those shifts and things like that if we have to. But most of the time people sign up for those. It takes a special person, somebody that's able to tolerate going in and out of those establishments all night, somebody that's able to tolerate people that maybe be a little bit impaired at times. So it does take somebody that can tolerate those situations a little better. You want to open it up to whoever wants to work it, but there are times that you'll have somebody come work it and they'll tell you real quick this ain't for them, that they don't want to do it
Hmm.
anymore. But
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
not
part
as
of
much
it.
fun as they thought it was going to be.
Right. It's just, part of it. And But luckily, I mean, we've been really lucky with having people that want to do it and do a great job at it. So knock on wood, at this point, we're not having any of those types of issues with trying to just make people have to do it. So hopefully we can stay on that track and keep that going for quite some time, so we don't have to ever make somebody do something they don't want to do. But um, for us, it's been fairly easy to get that staffed, and we hope it continues that way.
Yeah. Now, if yeah, obviously we'll have people coming from other cities around the country, and we're going to showcase the Nashville model. But if you were to kind of advise people like the top three things to consider in setting up something like this, what would you say is really the top areas that they should focus in on when it comes to making recommendations for how to model their own city's approach to what they're doing in Nashville?
You know, every city is a little different, but you have to look at what actually works for you. I mean, we looked at multiple different places and things like that to see what other places were doing, and ultimately we had to do what was right for Nashville. We knew that there was a large medical call volume down there, so we had to put our med carts and things like that in that area. We knew there was a smaller call volume in that area, but it's still a huge precedence because if there is an alarm or anything at any of those establishments, there's a large number of people in those. So we had to put fire carts and things like that in that area. And then with the fire marshal side of things, we had to put inspectors and things down there to monitor all those businesses that might be closed during the day, but then it's a whole different city at night after hours. Um, Look at what's best for your city. Look at what's the most demanding from your current system that you have in place, a 7 day a week operation. What's the most demanding on it that's pulling from your regular duties to those areas, and start with that. Also, as far as getting, your right people and staffing and things like that, always remember too that you're asking people to work nights, you're asking people to work weekends, shifts that they're not normally accustomed to. So ask yourself what you're going to be doing for those people to make it beneficial for them as well.
What would be some things that you do?
Um, you know, Overtime rates, stipends, things of that nature. One of our biggest things that we discussed for quite some time was, um, I would get pushed back with, well, it's just a regular shift. It's this, it's that. People will be willing to work it. That is correct. We have a 365-day a year operation that we work here. However, any other business in the world, people get paid a special rate or anything else to work nights and weekends. You look at the healthcare world, you have nurses that work Monday through Friday that make a certain rate, and you have nurses that work weekends that make a certain rate, nurses that work nights that make a certain rate. So giving little stipends, things like that, overtime pay, whatever those benefits that your city can do for those workers to be able to work those types of shifts are going to make it much more beneficial for those workers. Because you're not only asking somebody to work nights and weekends, you're asking them to work a really busy night and weekend shift constantly. So make sure you're taking care of your people as well.
Now, you use the term med cart and fire cart. You
Yeah,
say cart or car?
CART, CART. So we have ATVs or UTVs that are outfitted with stretchers, things like that, skids on the back of them with pumps for the fire carts. We have those in those high demand areas that we're not able to get large apparatus in and out of as easily. We'll respond those on the weekend nights. We'll respond those to those areas because you look at our Broadway district, if I send a fire engine and an ambulance down Broadway, um, I'm drastically interrupting traffic flow and crowd flow, especially if they go to a call somewhere on Broadway and it's down in the footprint, if you will. It's interrupting crowd flow, it's interrupting traffic flow, and they're going to be there on scene for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So that drastically impacts that whole traffic pattern in that area for quite some time. But if we have these smaller apparatus, the med carts and the fire carts, we can send those to those calls They can run the call the exact same way that that other apparatus would run it. It's not interrupting the crowd flow. It's not interrupting the traffic flow. And if it's a medical call, for instance, they'll load the patient onto their med cart and they'll transport them to a exchange point with our ambulance down the road a little bit, which is not in within our footprint. So it doesn't interrupt any of those other entities while we're running those calls.
Wow, this is amazing. This is great. It's a great strategy. And then obviously I'm sure if you send the fire cart in, it could deal with a small situation, but you probably have backup on the side streets that in the event that it gets out of control, you're physically more close, but you're not necessarily in the midst of the crowd
Absolutely.
unless it becomes absolutely necessary. Well,
Yep.
this has been the most informative interview I've ever had with somebody from Fire. I've learned so much and the different strategies that you have in place. I think it's really pretty impressive. So I really thank you for your time to cover all of
Absolutely.
this.
Yeah, anytime. That's and just like you said, the fire carts, that's the way we respond with those. We'll say we have a fire alarm at one of the businesses, we'll send the fire carts. We still have the regular response coming and they'll stage right there off of our footprint and listen to our fire carts. Our fire carts may ask them to come on down or they may cancel them. It just keeps everything flowing smoothly during all of that.
Well, this is great. I'm sure that there's a lot of focus and concern after that fire in Switzerland to start looking at. I worked in Providence, Rhode Island, or in Rhode Island. It wasn't in Providence, but it was a big deal when they had that fire. And it was the same thing. You had the venue installed sound suppression because they were getting complaints for the neighbors.
Yep.
And then they had a band that was playing in the club that night, and the local TV station, a local radio station put on a big promotion, so they ended up with more people in the place. And then the band shot off fireworks, and that's what ignited this sound suppression. So you got a venue that's trying to be responsible by putting in sound suppression materials, but obviously not checking their fire safety. And then they have pyrotechnics that are part of the show, which obviously, like in Switzerland, became the factor that ignited it. So it's a combination of working with venue operators who are trying to do the right thing in one area in terms of sound management and putting up soundproofing, but then at the same time they might be exacerbating a risk from fire safety. So I
Absolutely.
guess it's a lot of reasons why you have to have the different entities at the table so that, while you have the people who are from code who are enforcing sound, work with the fire so that you end up getting the right sound suppression material without necessarily igniting a fire.
Absolutely. And that's another key component for any of the other cities and things. Us from the fire department, we work so well with codes. We work so well with the police department. We work so well with NDOT, with WECO, with all the different entities. We have a great working relationship with all the other players within Nashville, and that's paramount for a successful operation.
Well, that's a good point to end this interview, but thank you for your time. This has been so informative and I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you. I'll be there. We have a meeting on the 20th with getting the speakers and the sponsors together to just kind of lay out how to make the best experience for people to come. I know the commander is planning on coming and we have others. So I hope you'll be able to make it. I think I sent you a notice about that.
You
We're going to
did.
meet
I've got it on my calendar.
at Benton's. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for your time and I wish you luck and look forward to seeing you.
All right. Thank you.